Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So today we have a couple of tidbits of Star Wars news, and we begin with Star Wars Ahsoka. The exclusive special look at the show, which could have been a final trailer behind the scenes, was meant to release last night, but according to those who were in attendance, it was delayed. This is believed to have been due to some issues on Twitter, and it's now believed to release sometime in the upcoming week, so we don't have to wait too long. Star Wars Ahsoka drops at the end of next month, with 52 days away. So exciting. So while we await the final trailer, which fingers crossed is going to get the fandom so excited, hopefully we get some new exclusive looks at the show, some new dialogue, some new characters. Let's talk about Rosario Dawson. In a new interview for Haunted Mansion, she was asked about Star Wars inevitably, and one specific question came up which has gotten some fans wondering, does she know something we don't? She was asked, who is your favourite Force ghost? Is it Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is it Yoda? But she answered Anakin, and then she gives a very specific story, a specific anecdote about Hayden Christensen, how for the updated version of Return of the Jedi that features Hayden Christensen and not Sebastian Shaw, George Lucas filmed Hayden candidly and didn't tell him what it was for. He only later found out it was for the new version of the ending of Return of the Jedi, and that was during the filming of the prequel trilogy Revenge of the Sith. But fans are wondering, with all of the jibber jabber, all of the gossip about Hayden returning in the Ahsoka show, if Hayden told her that story on set, because we do expect to see Anakin's Force ghost. And I was just wondering if that is what Rosario Dawson is referring to in this interview. What kind of role is Anakin going to play as a Force ghost? And then it dawned on me it's going to be her journey to becoming a Jedi once more, but not the same kind of Jedi she walked away from. This is going to be Ahsoka Tano's journey to becoming one of the most powerful and enlightened Force beings the galaxy's ever known. And I do believe Anakin's got to be a big part of that, in the same way Qui-Gon's Force ghost trained Obi-Wan, and in the same way Obi-Wan's Force ghost trained Anakin when he died. In the Legends book, The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, I think Anakin's Force ghost is going to be a sort of mentor figure to Ahsoka, even though at this stage she's already left the Jedi Order years ago, and she says, I am no Jedi. From what Dave Filoni has said, interacting with other Force users, even those who've left the Jedi Order like Baylan and Shin, they even use the word Jedi in the trailers, she might realize there's more of a nuance, it's not just black and white. I do believe Ahsoka's journey is taking her full circle from Padawan to generic Force wielder. Some people call her a grey Jedi, I don't agree with that, but now back to the label of Jedi. But it's not the same kind of Jedi she knew before. It's not about councils, it's not about strict rules and politics, it was about the path. So in a way she's kind of like this spiritual monk. By all accounts she's going to embark on a very unique journey, and Dave Filoni as the apprentice of George Lucas, I think and I hope is going to respect Anakin and his role in all of that. So going back to this interview, I do believe Rosario Dawson was told this story by Hayden himself. Let's see what she said.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think that's gotta be Anakin for me, just because I'm looking at the history of it. He didn't even know that's what he was filming apparently, and they threw it in, so he's all smiley and stuff, and they just put it into the movie, and he apparently didn't know that, and was like, oh, if I had known, I would have portrayed it a little differently. But he just I guess George just got this extra scene of him and just sort of threw him in there, which I just think is kind of amazing. So I like the very reluctant ghost, very reluctant Force ghost.
Your favorite Force ghost?
Just notice the way she kind of pauses when she said that, because she knows she can't reveal too much. I don't mean to be conspiratorial with this, but I do think she knows something. It's been a long time in the works, we've heard over and over again. Hayden was not just involved in the Kenobi show, he did a lot of work for this too. And I'm really hoping they do give him a big role, because Bryce Dallas Howard, I think it was back in 2022, she kind of teased that this show is really going to be a fan dream for Clone Wars fans, and I wouldn't put it past Dave Filoni to pull out all the stops. Anakin's very important. She was his Padawan. That was how it was conceived all the way back in 2008 when the film came out, and then the TV show. And we've come so far as a fandom in terms of how we see Ahsoka, because at first, a lot of fans didn't like the idea of Anakin having a Padawan, but now I do think the two are very intertwined. She didn't have too much of a role in Star Wars Rebels, but when she did appear, it was so important. Anakin was a big part of that. When she sits down and she shows Ezra the hologram, the whole "he was my master" sequence, and then at the temple on Lothal, she gets the apparition of Anakin saying, do you know what I've become? And then we see him turn to Darth Vader. So I think that traumatized her. And a big part of this, a huge part of this, is finding out that Anakin was redeemed. That Darth Vader was not his ultimate fate, but that Luke was the catalyst for bringing back the Jedi, Return of the Jedi, her master. And so in the book of Boba Fett, when we see Ahsoka and Luke interact, we want to see the first time they met. She calls herself a family friend to the Skywalkers. We want to see her find out that Anakin was redeemed. I think that's going to be a big part of her own redemption in a way. She holds on to a lot of pain, a lot of fear. She's been through so much. A lot of people complain about the way she stands in those pictures, the promotional pictures, but that is the Ahsoka stance, and at this time, in the New Republic era, Ahsoka's lived through a lot of stuff. She's got good reason to not always be happy, but I do think she's going to find some kind of rest within the Force. Maybe by the time of the Rise of Skywalker, if, the voice does mean she died, maybe she learned how to become a Force ghost from Anakin. But again, Dave Filoni said, that doesn't mean she's dead. I think she's still got a lot of story. So there you have it. That is Rosario's comments on her favourite Force ghost. I do think if you grew up on the prequels like I did, and you didn't necessarily see the original version first with Sebastian Shaw and you saw Hayden's version first, I grew up knowing Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen as Anakin, because I grew up during the prequel trilogy. I didn't have this huge period of time between the OT and the prequel trilogy when I was a kid. I saw the OT at the same time as the prequels, so for me, the continuation was very logical. I was too young to understand the criticisms fans had with Hayden back then. So it was a very emotional thing seeing Hayden's Force ghost smiling alongside Yoda and Obi-Wan at the end. I'm really excited for this show. There is so much they can do with that, and a lot of fans are complaining about not enough lightsabers, not enough Force users, not enough Force themes in general. I think this is the show that's going to give us that. I think this is the one. All the Force users like Baylan Shin, we've got the Inquisitor, Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger, and I want to understand what's going on in Ahsoka's head at this time. I want to know if she really has bridged that gap, if she's been able to reconcile her past and go back to being a Jedi and being comfortable with that label, to be able to say, I didn't like what the Jedi were when I was part of the Order. I was framed. The Republic and separatist politics, that these are not meant to be fighters and warriors of the Republic, they're meant to be defenders of it, but that doesn't mean they can be used as soldiers, and there was so much corruption along the way. And Ahsoka's lived through the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, and now the fall of the Empire too. Where is she at this point? What's going through her head? How does she feel about these institutions? But we really are at a place where you have Luke. He's building this Jedi temple, it's not fallen just yet. And you have all these forces of darkness working against you. Is it right in those moments to say, you know what, I'm going to return to being a Jedi. I'm going to help Luke. And I do think the Book of Boba Fett, which I think takes place a little bit after the first few episodes of Ahsoka, I know the timeline's a bit confusing, I do think that's a sign that she does return to calling herself a Jedi. Those are just some of my thoughts though. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you, always.